Tiffany, and welcome to the Perky Nerd!
Hey guys, I'm Londyn Jackson of History of the Batman, and we are here at the Perky Nerd for Batgirl Day. I'm here moderating a panel featuring the writers of DC Comics Batgirl, Hope Larson, and Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, Julie and Shawna Benson.
Bonkers, crazy, beautiful. Everyone should come here and buy their comic books. It's so amazing.
So fun.
And coffee.
Cold brew.
This is coffee, not beer.
No, it's a really cute place. There's a lot of fun stuff here. Art on the walls.
It's really nice. It's been amazing.
Love it.
Everybody's so sweet.
Well, since it is Batgirl Day, and in January she's going to have her 50th anniversary, which is insane. So just to start off, I wanted to know, what is your first memory of Batgirl?
That's a really good question. It has to be one of the detective comics that my dad had. I'm pretty sure there was the group one where she came in, but that was, different Batgirls. It's hard to right. we're in a different continuity, but that, and of course the Adam West show that, Yvonne, so. Mm-hmm. I think that's that's the one for me, right? For sure. She's so gorgeous and amazing.
And spunky.
Right.
She had a motorbike.
Yeah, that show was awesome. Great. We were the perfect age for that show. The Biff Bam Pow stuff. It's awesome.
I definitely think Yvonne Craig, she set the stage for the character. And now with DC Rebirth, you have the Batgirl series, you have Batgirl, Birds of Prey, and then all of the other heroines such as Wonder Woman and then Harley Quinn with all of her books. Why do you think that Batgirl in particular is an important character to have for young girls or young women, or to have these comics out for young girls to read, to know that it's not just Superman, it's not just Batman, it's not just the male heroes that we love too, but it's also important to know that we have characters like Batgirl. So why do you think she is important today?
I like her because she doesn't really have superpowers. I mean, she kind of does. She has the eidetic memory thing. But mostly she just works really hard, and she's got the cool tech thing, and she's a great martial artist. So that's pretty relatable for me.
Yeah, the working hard and sort of overcoming all those obstacles. I think it's important, there's so many male superheroes, which is amazing. We love them all, but it is good to have that sort of identity, to see somebody that, a young girl could be reading that comic and say, oh, well, I could study computers. And we actually met somebody at, was it New York Comic Con? Mm-hmm. And she got into computer science because of Batgirl. And I was like, that was amazing. I was like, but yeah, so that was awesome. And I think those are the things that you want to see more of. You just be able to, identify with that and have something to aspire to.
There's a lot there for different people to get from her. She was a librarian, so there's something interesting there. She, was Oracle in Birds of Prey, so, she's representative of someone who is, disabled and is still sort of dealing with that in the current continuity to some degree. I think that you take a character who is incredibly smart and applies that like Batman would, in the service of trying to do what she can to help Gotham, without but she's still very strict to herself about following the law. She really doesn't want to be the Harley Quinn type, or a vigilante who maybe Huntress, who really isn't going to care quite as much about whether she's breaking the law or not. And I think that that's something that Barbara actually struggles with as a character. So I think that's always really good to see, that those kind of moral dilemmas in comics.
And in your series, Batgirl and Birds of Prey, Barbara was more influenced to become Batgirl, not because of Batman, but because more of her father. And I think the big difference in looking at Batgirl and these characters now is when Batgirl was first introduced, she was trying to climb her way up to be equals to Batman and Robin. Then she became so popular, she had her own Detective Comics backstories and things like that. do you think that having kind of Batgirl not influenced by Batman, is that kind of building her own identity? Because when you see that she's part of this huge Batman family, Batgirl is one of the most popular members. Do you try to have her as separate as possible, or, and this is for both publications, are you going to try to link it back to maybe Batman or even Nightwing or other characters, or are you going to just kind of have her on her own? That you can say. I don't know if you can tell us.
Well, I will say that we had Batman show up in our issue 2, basically so she could tell him off.
Right.
So she could say, I don't really need you. It's really cool that you're here and all, but bye-bye. So, I mean, that was kind of to us important to show that she is capable, and Batman actually sees that about her, that she has the right mindset about what she's doing, and in our story in particular, where she's looking for this other person named Oracle, you know, she's saying, I appreciate the support, both to her dad and to Bruce, but at the end of the day, she's got it, and she knows she has it with Dinah and eventually Helen at her side. Like, she doesn't need his backup, but it's always good to know it's there, you know, if the day ever came when she would need it. So that's kind of where it's sort of like having the kid that goes off to college, and you don't necessarily want to rely on your parents anymore, but knowing that they're there and that they could send you some money when you need it, or maybe be there when you need to do your laundry, that's always kind of a nice little safety net to have.
Yeah, it's good to check in with those other characters and remember that they're around. But I'm not yet doing a whole lot with them.
Right.
I can't, it's like stuff I can't say.
No,
Well, we've talked about, I mean, you can mention it, because I think we've talked about, we want to include other characters from the universe in our stories, because they do drop in. You know, and Birds of Prey in particular, because it includes other characters, it's sort of the tendrils reach out into other corners of the universe. So you can kind of bring people into our book that are from Dinah's life, or maybe from Helena's life, or both of their lives. So, I mean, those are...
And Nightwing.
Or all 3 of their lives, you know. So those are things that, you know, you can kind of, I think, look to do. And it shows that it is part of the whole universe, the Gotham universe.
So and I guess turning to Hope, for your Batgirl book, the first arc, she's in Asia, and which is definitely not Gotham or even in Burnside. And what was it like when you were first told that you were going to be doing the DC Rebirth book? How was the transition from Babs Tarr and Brendan Fletcher and Cameron Stewart's Batgirl? How did you transition to kind of make it your own and yet still keep the character that people have been reading for the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, I really loved their run, and that was really the first Batgirl stuff that I'd read. So it just being introduced to her as they wrote her and really liking that character, I tried to basically continue on in a similar vein, but I'm a different writer, and I'm one person and not 2 people, so it definitely comes out pretty differently.
So the design, actually, for both books of Batgirl is still is the same.
Yeah.
So did you want to change the design, or are you fine with?
I love it.
You love it.
I love it. I don't want to change it.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I love the boots.
It's got more of a, it's less slinky, like I think a lot of the older kind of uniforms have been. This feels more utilitarian. It feels like you could actually bend in that suit and move in that suit and like actually perform martial arts wearing that suit, which I think is really important for a character that relies on those kinds of skills.
Definitely.
I like it.
And speaking of martial arts, she focuses in this first arc a lot on getting more into the martial arts and having her fighting skills. Why did you choose to kind of make that the focus? She focuses on that and her kind of almost photographic memory, and why did you pick those skills to kind of heighten in the first arc?
I don't know if I can really answer that question because I'm 1 issue away from the conclusion of the arc, and that's going to tie everything up and answer all of these questions.
That's okay.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely wanted to write something that had to do with the idea of flow in your brain and in martial arts and sports. That's really what the whole arc is
Right.
based around, is that idea.
Yes.
So, you'll see.
No. I'm excited. Now, turning to the Birds of Prey, what was it? Well, first of all, before this arc, because I know you've written for TV,
Yeah.
and so what is just the biggest difference from writing for TV to writing to comics?
Everything, almost everything except for the writing part. Yeah, we're currently writing our issue of, because I'm already doing it, episode of the 100 this weekend. And so on top of that, kind of going back into the screenwriting style after doing the comic for so long, it's almost, it's discombobulating because you're so directing on the page. You're you know, for comics, you're explaining the panel down to a T. You're designing it like a director, and when you're writing a screenplay, you're writing that for the actors in the sense of this is their motivations and this is what they're feeling, and you're letting the director do that job. So having those two things pull against each other is really hard, and that you've always been taught to not explain and not direct on the page, and comics is all about that. So we had to do a big brain flip at the beginning of the year, and now we're finding ourselves this weekend going back, and so that's been the trickiest part. But we write the same in our process together. We kind of break it together, decide who's going to do which sections, sometimes just split it up. You do the first 10 pages, I'll do the last 10, and then we swap, and then we kind of do a merge together, and that seems to have worked out pretty well, because our voices are pretty similar anyway as being sisters, so you don't really, I don't think you can tell, like, these are the Julie 10 pages and these are the Shawna. We both put our fingerprints in all of it. Yeah.
We just keep rewriting each other until we're happy with it, and then eventually we don't know who wrote what in the first place, so it's
Best joke wins.
Yeah. Best idea wins.
What was your introduction or your background on Birds of Prey before writing this book? Were you familiar with the publications before?
Yeah. I read the Gale run, read the Chuck Dixon run, and most recently read the New 52 run. So yeah, we were completely familiar. Shawna was actually more familiar with the TV series.
This is true.
That I completely forgot about.
Yeah, I mean, being first of all, a lover of television, Julie's first love. Would you say television's your first love, or would you say comics is your first love?
Oh, I don't know. Equal.
It is now. I mean, now it's like this for me, but I was always like a TV person. So yeah, I knew the Birds of Prey TV show, so I had read some of the comics because of that, but that show was killed far too soon. So
Ahead of its time.
Ahead of its time. But anyway, that was kind of where we came from.
Would you want to see another Birds of Prey TV show, especially since the CW with Flash and Arrow and all of these characters? Do you think that is even possible since you worked in TV?
I would love to see that show. I would love to work on that show. I would love to write that show.
That would be great.
Yeah, they should totally do that.
Yeah, even if they choose not to use us, they should totally do that show.
Yeah.
So wait, there was a Birds of Prey show?
There was. It was 12 episodes.
In the 1990?
2000.
2000.
That's why I don't know. It's because that's when I was in college and I didn't have TV.
Right.
It's on CWC. You can stream it. You can watch it on CWC.
Yeah, I had forgotten I'd even seen it release. I didn't even finish it. So recently I've gone back and watched it.
Oh, did you?
Jeez.
Harley Quinn is very different.
Different. Helen is different. Everything's different.
Yeah.
And there's Oracle.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Which is
Right. Speaking of Oracle, your first arc is Who is Oracle,
Yeah.
and why did you choose to kind of play with that persona of Barbara Gordon and put that into your first story?
You go, well, I think it was really a DC thing. They wanted that story in the sense of, you know, that's something that was important to them, and they wanted to bring that back, and we completely, like the minute they said it, we were like 100%, let's do it, and so we kind of pitched our idea based off of that. But yeah, it was always their intent to do an Oracle story.
And how is it working with the character Huntress? Because she's kind of coming back as Huntress, because in Grayson in New 52 she was Spiral, and so I was so excited to see that she definitely was back as Huntress. So how has it been working with that character in this dynamic?
It's been so much fun. She adds that, like, the conflict that we needed so desperately, because Dinah and Babs are such good friends that you need to have something pushing against what they're trying to do, and so that's been amazing. And pulling her from Spiral and refocusing on her family, you know, like her mission now isn't about other people, it's personal, you know, and getting her back on that train it's been really fun. It's been tricky because we want her to open up a little, we want to let her breathe a little, and I think next week when this issue comes out, we have a few copies for people if you want them, we get a little background on Helena, and so we get to sort of dig a little bit deeper into her, and I find her completely fascinating. I want to use her more and more.
No, totally. It's one of those things too where when you start writing one of the three characters, you become kind of obsessed with that character for a little while, and then it's like, I got the other two, and then you start writing the other ones, and it happens with all three of them, because they all three are so interesting in their very own ways, which is so much fun.
Yeah. We got to talk a lot about Barbara's, sort of, in the Rebirth issue, the sort of background, the flashback, and then in the last issue in 3, it was Dinah's, you know, flashback and her story, and so this one 4, we get a lot of Helena. So I feel like we finally got the due justice that we needed to get their stories started. We just had to kind of kick off the story first. So.
Yeah.
Now you both have Batgirl in your books, and yet they're in totally different settings, and it doesn't really seem connected. When you first knew you were going to do Batgirl and Batgirl Birds of Prey, did you talk about it? Did you connect, or is there going to be any type of crossover, anything that it'll connect the stories?
Maybe
at all?
eventually, but you guys have a story that's taking place after mine.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
the
we were
arc I'm
told,
writing
yeah.
now takes place, I guess,
Well,
concurrent with
right,
yours or something like that, but
yes.
it's not
Yeah.
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's weird.
Basically what I was told by my editors to not worry about what's happening in their arc. Because she can be doing my story on Monday and their story on Tuesday. She's very busy.
We get that same speech. That's the good thing.
I did in the morning.
Birds of Prey is our hobby.
But we're desperate to try to do some sort of crossover with them because
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
yeah, I think we should.
Let's get 3 writers.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Done. Somebody call DC.
There are DC people in the room.
Yeah, I think there are.
Take care of that.
He nodded. It's good.
Are there other female characters, whether heroes or villains, that you would want to have in your story that's already established? I know you're presenting new characters in your books, but maybe established ones. Do you want Wonder Woman to randomly appear in a
I love
story?
Wonder Woman.
Or is
Uh,
there a character that you're like, oh, I would love to put that in the story?
you put her in?
I don't know.
You should.
I like all the female characters.
I
Like
know.
Supergirl. I'd love to do like a Batgirl Supergirl thing.
That would be so
I'm kind of jealous that you guys get Black Canary.
I know.
Sorry.
You can borrow her maybe.
Yeah.
She's all over the place. She's
She's
going to
free on
jail.
Thursday.
She's in Green Arrow.
Hey, she's in like 3 books right now.
I know. She's all over.
She's so cool. I got to write Poison Ivy for a one-shot that's out in December.
That's awesome.
That was very exciting. I didn't think I was going to get to use her, but I did.
That's
So
awesome. I'm jealous of that. That's awesome.
it's my coup.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get asked a lot about if any of the other original Birds of Prey members will come back, and we talk about it, and it's entirely possible in the future. It's sort of like we need to lay the groundwork for the stories and for the, you know, sort of Birds of Prey in the Rebirth style of people who have never read Birds of Prey, sort of getting them used to what this type of story is, and then on the other side of it, sort of reminding everybody who is familiar with it of what's great about it, and then we can start to play with the, you know, the other elements that we can bring into it.
We're
and-
definitely adding a new team member in the next arc.
Yeah.
Ah.
But we aren't going to tell you.
I'm like this. I want to tell you so bad.
It's really hard because we're all writing.
So hard.
Yeah.
We're writing
Yes.
stuff that's coming out like next year.
Yeah.
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 So it's like feels like super dangerous territory. It's
Terrifying.
anything.
But yeah.
I'm trying not to track you.
No,
I
no,
promise.
no, it'd be great. It'd be great.
How is it working with the artists on your books and communicating with them?
I love working with Raphael Albuquerque. He's amazing.
So good.
So good, so fast, so nice.
Really.
Yeah.
Who do you have somebody new though.
Yeah, Christian Wildgoose is taking over the book for the next arc, and he's also amazing.
Yes.
Also super nice. I get the nicest artists.
Oh,
So
amazing.
he's British. So
Is
he's
he?
very charming. Yes.
Oh, her or talk to her. It's just emails, and we keep her busy, so I don't think she has any time to like chat with us. She's amazing, and then we've also brought in George Antonio, and he did the flashbacks in the Diana story in 3, and then he's now on I think 4, 5, and 6, and then we'll have Claire back at 7. Yeah. So we're kind of juggling some amazing, also very sweet, also super talented artists. I think Roge trained in the same studio as Raphael.
Oh, really?
So they
He's
know
like
each
a
other.
protege,
Yeah, they're like
yeah.
a protege. He's a protege of Raphael. So it's all in the family.
Yeah. And our cover artists, Yannick Paquette and Kamome Shirahama are amazing. The variant art for the first arc has just been ridiculous. Like, so great. But Yannick's art is also just super solid every single issue out. Like, we want to like put them on our wall, but our wall would be completely covered at some point with all of the covers, and that might not be very aesthetically pleasing at some point. I don't know. But you have a lot of comic art on your wall, so maybe it'll work. I don't know.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Before I open up to everyone here, do you have a favorite Batgirl story? It can be a comic, it can be TV, it can be anything that, that's your favorite that makes you love the character.
I have to remember the issue. I don't think I can remember the issue.
I really like what Hope is doing, honestly. I love your run. I think it's so great.
So much.
I love the whole martial arts thing and the Asian,
Yes.
the MMA fight. Like,
Right.
it was
Oh
just
my
like,
god. We should actually talk about that.
Okay.
Because, sorry to hijack your Q&A.
No.
How are you guys writing the fights? I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past.
are you detailing all of the moves?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you doing that also?
We
For
did.
that run I am, because it's specifically MMA, so I feel
Yes.
like I
Yeah.
have to have
Specify.
actual moves and it has to make sense.
Yeah, we specify.
On YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of YouTube, a lot of a lot of. Canary always has the cry, but we also like her kicking. You know, Huntress really is she has the crossbow, but she's fisty and kicking. So it's getting those beats in there that sometimes. I think there was one panel. Oh, okay, I'm gonna rewind. Tom King wrote a script for Batman, and he sent it to us because we begged him to give us something
He
to
sent
read.
it to me.
Yes. And you will get so angry. This is how Tom King writes Batman. He is so terse and amazing. There's one panel on a page where it says, oh god, I'm gonna misquote this, but essentially it's Batman punches the guy in his stupid face. Like, that's all he says. And then it's this amazing panel of Batman punching a guy in his stupid face, but like, Tom doesn't describe the punch, he doesn't describe it, it's just like he's getting through it, and he's so amazing. It makes me furious because then we'll write and we'll be like, okay, so, you know, he's just gonna punch him on the left side of his jaw, and then like her head might be turned, like we get like really choreographed, and I don't think we need to be that choreographed. So we have to find like the good middle ground. And I think it's a trusting your artist thing, you know, we hadn't worked with Claire, we didn't know, like maybe she likes all this detail, or maybe she doesn't, and so far everything's been great, but
Yeah, the
I
new
don't
arc
know.
I'm writing now is less, it's not specifically about MMA, so I'm writing the fights a lot differently.
yeah, more
Um,
just like,
it's like a little bit more elevated
yeah.
and more like Batgirl Burnside-y.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's much easier to write, oh my gosh.
I would not want to write MMA fighting. I would not know how to do that. Like,
Watch a whole bunch of
fly.
fights.
Yeah.
The fights are fun to watch.
Are they fun?
Oh my gosh. So good.
No, the fight scenes you guys have in your comics are great, and with MMA, it was so cool to look at it because I'm not really familiar with it, but I felt like, oh, I'm learning all this stuff, and yeah, so I love to see them fight these guys, especially they're just such strong female characters. It's just great to see them in that element, definitely. So I love all of your books, and I'm excited about what you guys are doing and what's upcoming. And if anyone here has any questions for them, please feel free to ask anybody.
Oh yeah.
If not,
Inventing a Cobblepot.
Thing?
you want to call on it.
That's right.
Sorry, the next arc. Yeah.
Ah.
That's fun enough, so I can talk.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was saying she's bringing in the Cobblepot character in the next arc,
Yeah.
which I'm
Bringing
excited
in,
about.
the Penguin's son.
So cool.
Yeah, very excited. It's gonna be very fun.
Oh, yeah.
What did you three ladies think about Barbara in The Killing Joke?
Oh, the
background.
animated. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
I was sent a copy, but I don't have a Blu-ray player.
Oh.
So
We've all not seen it?
I have not watched it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Was it good? I don't know. Did you like it?
It was. I liked
Okay,
it.
good.
And I even liked Batgirl in it, but I know a lot of people were unhappy with what they did with her.
My mom was mad. Yeah, I will say that. My mom texted me. I think did this all come out at
It was
Comic?
a Comic-Con.
I got angry texts from my mom, who I don't think she was reading comics blogs, and I was like, Mom, don't read that stuff. But she hasn't seen it either, so.
It's funny because the movie world and the comics world and the animation world are so separate that I'm just focusing on the books. Whatever was in the books,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a fan of.
It's just separate. It's a different
world.
timeline.
It's a different universe.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when the Killing Joke animated film came out, and then right after it was the Batgirl book, and I read several articles and reviews saying that in comparison, since the Killing Joke is such a dark story and it's a dark time for Barbara, it was like almost like a beacon of light that when your book came out to see Barbara in that kind of element where it's not so bleak.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of positive after kind of
Good.
seeing. So that's a good thing.
Hope saves the day.
I still think you guys should see the film, just
Okay.
so you know.
We should actually.
Alright.
We should all get together.
We'll get some popcorn. We'll live tweet it. Lots of wine.
Sounds good.
Does anyone else have questions?
Can you just talk a little bit about your art, like how you got into writing for comics and all those things?
Okay. I've been making comics professionally for 12 or so years. I started out in webcomics initially, and then worked my way up through indie comics, through book publishing, doing graphic novels with book publishers, and now I'm in mainstream comics. So I've had kind of a weird career path that's just like gone through all of the areas of comics that you can go through, except for newspaper comics, which don't really exist anymore anyway.
Oh, I love comic strips.
Yeah,
It's
so
Sunday
now
funnies.
it's cool.
You're too steps away from Sunday funnies. Come on. You can do it.
I'm gonna bring it back.
Let's bring it back. That was my favorite part of the newspaper, if
I know.
anyone can tell. I didn't read the news. I was like, I need the colored one, the one that has all the bright colors and all the funny parts.
Well, we had Kelvin and Hobbes and Peanuts growing up, so
Yeah, we were very spoiled.
Lucky.
Wouldn't count on them.
better for worse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good stuff.
How do we get into comics?
Well, you talk about.
Well, I mean, it's tricky. You follow all these people on Instagram and social media, and you kind of just become, it's its own like small network where you all become friends. And I had met Jeff, and we started to talk about comics, and we started to talk about my favorite stuff. And I was sort of only just aware that Rebirth was happening, and he said, well, you guys should come in and let's talk comics. And so we got a meeting, and we were prepared to pitch like 15 ideas. We had a whole like Psycho Pirate thing we wanted to do, a Vandal
Thanks,
Savage.
Tom King.
Thanks, Tom King.
Did he tell you to come in with a bunch of
Well, he said come in and let's talk comics, and so we were like, oh, we better have ideas.
Well, in TV, you go in, you have
gotta have
all your
ideas
ideas,
to
you got to have your stuff ready to pitch. So that's
we
what
had no
did.
idea how it worked. We had no idea.
I didn't either, so.
Right? And then we show up, and they're like, oh, we have a book to pitch you. What about Birds of Prey? And I was like, we've heard of it, and so, yeah.
Familiar with it.
Then we realized they were serious, and they, really thought of us as writers, and as we have been trying to
I
be.
was just like, we are writers.
We are
so
writers.
That makes sense that they would think of us as writers.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And so then we turned in our pitch for that, and they liked it. And so it sounds so easy, and I hate as I tell this story because it sounds like, oh, I just met Jeff, and then we got this job. It's been decades of reading comics. I hate this word, but networking, knowing all these people and making friends with artists and writers and going to conventions and talking to people. Like, that's just been in our lives, just like knowing these people. And then now that we've kind of proven that we are writers and work for a television show, I think they were like, oh yeah, the Bensons read comic books and they know this stuff. So it just sort of it was the right time and the right place.
Yeah.
Rebirth really kind of allowed that to happen for us. I don't think it would have happened otherwise.
Yeah, we moved to LA. We were from the Midwest. We moved to LA 2002, 2003. And basically, it's from that time on that we were trying to build a career and work in TV and film. And so it took us 12 years to get our first television writing job. So, I mean, in that entire span of time has been writing script after script after script. We even wrote our own comic at one point. We didn't get it published, but we had written a comic.
Maybe we will now.
Maybe. But I mean, so it's just you spend a lot of the years just working toward the goal and waiting for not waiting, but trying to make that opportunity happen where you finally are working
And the
professional.
good news, when somebody says we want to talk comics, we were ready. I think if somebody had asked us 10 years ago, well, come on in, let's talk about comic books. We would have talked about comic books, but we wouldn't have had any point of reference or any story of our own to tell.
That's more of the typical journey. You work really hard in obscurity for a long time, and then you get a break, and it's oh, they came out of
Overnight
nowhere.
It's oh yeah. And we're like, no, we've been
No,
here
we've
the
been
whole time.
around
We've been here the whole time.
Yeah, that's true. Overnight success.
Cool.
Well, I wanted to thank you guys for coming and talking about your books. I think we're all fans of your background, right? And I can't wait to read the next issue, the next arcs. And you're doing a really great job with these characters.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Happy Backgirl Day.